You might have limiting beliefs in your mind without even recognizing it.
When adversity came, I could have fell apart, but I chose instead to follow my heart. When adversity comes, I will never run, I will adjust, adapt, and overcome. Vision.
Woo! What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to your one-stop shop for everything empowerment. I am your host, Tariq Williams. Let's get into it. Now, the topic today is interesting, so let's paint a picture for everyone today, all right? So imagine that you are sitting at a table. There's multiple desks around you. You're sitting at a table, and you in the room, you're in a table full of desks, and in the room, there's a few doors, okay? And the doors on the other side of the room say opportunity. They say greatness. They say goals. So what do? Naturally, you're thinking about, okay, there has to be some type of catch maybe, but this sounds too good to be true. But hey, let's go check this out, right? This is my opportunities, my goals, etc. Let's go over towards that. But you already started thinking there's got to be something else going on here. But you walk over anyway because, hey, who doesn't want to achieve their dreams, their goals, opportunities, right? You walk over, and as you begin to walk over, it's not only the thoughts that were in your mind off the rip. You trip, and there's a chain tied to your ankle of what you're trying to achieve. And that is truly what a limiting belief is. The invisible chain that you don't realize that is actually around that doesn't let you get to where you want to be. So today we're going to really define what a limiting belief is. We're going to talk about what gives them power, and we're going to talk about how to get them out of our life, cut them out, because there's no space for them here. So what actually is a limiting belief? We're going to, say some things you probably already know the answer to, like, for example, the word limit, right? That means that there's something blocking you from whatever it is you think you can do, or you already think you can't do it because it's your limit, right? And then finally, not only is this a limit that exists externally, but you believe it, right? Belief. You believe that this exists, okay? So now we've defined the words as simply as Merriam-Webster or Oxford would want us to. So let's dive into what actually this means and where does limiting beliefs come from. So first, it can come from several different places. So, for example, as a child, right, you have some different type of traumatizing experience that affected you in a way. So, for example, you came across, I don't know, you went rock climbing once and you stumbled and you fell. That's ingrained in your brain, right? That you had some type of painful moment that has connected with your life. And now you have this limited belief that rock climbing is something that you will no longer be proud of, or it may engage into a fear of heights, right? Other types of places where limiting beliefs may come from, it can be from media, right? Media saying that you can't do a particular action because of who you are as an individual based upon your age or your skin color or the height that you are, et cetera, et cetera. You start creating more limiting beliefs about these different things because you heard it in media. And whether you thought that you believed it or not, and that's the interesting thing about limiting beliefs, is that it can be subconscious. You may not always realize this limiting belief actually exists for you, but yet your actions kind of confirm and how you avoid or go towards certain situations when it comes to your limiting beliefs. And so it goes on, right? As limiting beliefs get created between different traumatizing experiences, hearing it from media, friends or family telling you different things that may have been a joke, but you start to believe whatever that is, right? Because it's been confirmed in one way or another. Or another example of where it could come from is education. Okay. A limiting belief of hearing from a teacher or getting specific grades and realizing that you're not as smart as all of your friends. And you start believing this has to be true because I got an 80 and they got a 90, or I got a 60 and they got a 90, right? You start connecting with all these different things, and then it starts some confirmation bias because you started confirming some of these different limiting beliefs indirectly or directly. And now what's happening is you're starting to give them power. So before we start diving into what it means to give limiting beliefs power, recognize this. You might have limiting beliefs in your mind without even recognizing it. You might have limiting beliefs in your mind and try to ignore them, but where it starts getting dangerous is when we start talking about giving limiting beliefs power. Giving limiting beliefs power. Let's get into that. So, repetition. Okay? If you have a few situations in a row where you may have not gotten the grades that you wanted, or you continually avoid certain situations, you start putting repetition into place. So now, indirectly, you've given that limiting belief power and what you can or can't do. Aside from the repetition piece, it's being confirmed by others continuously. People continue telling you, and the people you're around are telling you that you can't do certain things even more so. That repetition continues and gives it more power. So now it's starting to consume you, and you've confirmed it in different ways in your mindset. Now you're avoiding these different situations, and now you're lost. You don't know what to do. You're feeling uncomfortable, and now you're afraid of the uncomfortable at this point. So now you've stayed in your box of what's comfortable for you because you have all these limiting beliefs, and they're controlling your actions on a day-to-day basis. So here's the problem. Are limiting beliefs real? The answer is yes. Now, the problem is not your limiting belief, but the fact that you've given it this immense power over you. So, how do we combat this limiting belief power? Well, first, as I mentioned prior, when you identify what the limiting belief is, because quite frankly, you're not always thinking that this limiting belief is real, okay? You have to recognize and identify the fact that you have a limiting belief in your life, right? You know, I mean, not necessarily a limiting belief, but when someone asks me, Tariq, what are your limits? I tell them, I'm about 6 feet tall, and I'm never gonna grow to 6'5", right? And that's true. It's not gonna happen unless I, Jack and the Beanstalk, take some magic pill or what have you. It's probably not gonna happen. Okay, well, what am I saying? It's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna grow to 6'5". It's just not gonna happen. Science, but the fact is, once we start confirming what other people are saying to us, or they ask us what our limits are, and we find ways to confirm whatever it may be, we've given those limits power. One, because we felt like we were supposed to, and two, because we already gave it power internally. We gave it power internally. Therefore, it has consumed our personality, our individuality. So we have to combat that and recognize that it's a thing. Identify your limiting beliefs. Second, in order to make sure that we're combating limiting beliefs, the other piece of this is making sure that we are challenging those limiting beliefs. So you have this limiting belief that you've identified, right? The second piece of this is you got to challenge it because you still believe it. You identified that you have a limiting belief, all right? You identified it. You recognized it. What are you going to do about it? You got to challenge it. You got to challenge it. You got to put yourself out of your comfort zone to be able to know and realize that this limiting belief does not exist. So you got to challenge it. Challenge your limiting beliefs. What does that look like? Put yourself in an uncomfortable situation. All right? Because what's comfortable speaks to and confirms your limiting belief. Therefore, we have to go somewhere that's uncomfortable to challenge that limiting belief so we can break through and shatter that mold. Once you start to challenge it and you shatter that mold, you confirm it. You switch, you turn repetition into the other side, and you confirm and put yourself in those situations where you can have the repetition to attack and confirm that that limiting belief doesn't exist. And once that repetition starts to continuously happen, something that a lot of sports players do, athletes, they talk about visualization. So LeBron James, for example, he speaks on before he starts an NBA game, he'll have his headphones on, and I'm sure a lot of different players do this, but he speaks publicly about having his headphones on, possibly reading, but also visualizing what it looks like to be successful in that particular situation. If it's the game, the finals, or if it's in track, for example, track and field, you'll recognize that a lot of track and field athletes will visualize what it means to have a good race. They'll visualize what it looks like to go over the hurdle smoothly. Visualize yourself doing the high jump and high jumping in a way that you're able to win as high as 6 feet, 7 foot, whatever, right? The visualization piece will confirm what you believe in terms of the repetition and change and put those limiting beliefs in an opposite effect. Limiting beliefs are dangerous when you confirm and you let them consume your personality and your identity, and you start not knowing who you are. So you box yourself in to a place that you don't think you can move forward. You think that next isn't there for you. And not only do you think next isn't there for you, you believe that you don't deserve whatever possibilities can come to you. And when you start believing in that, when that starts consuming you, when you've given it power, it takes over your life. And so now we got to figure out, once you go through the steps of how to combat that, surround yourself with individuals who recognize that you deserve more for yourself. Those limiting beliefs don't exist. You put yourself in situations where you can thrive and you move forward. You know, Oprah Winfrey talks about the fact that her grandmother and her family thought the only possibility for her was housekeeper. If that's not a limiting belief, I don't know what is. All right. And so when you start thinking that that's all you have to offer in life, that's when that chain that we talked about in the beginning holds you back. But when you recognize that those limiting beliefs don't have to consume you, like Oprah, LeBron, different track athletes, what have you, you recognize the fact that your limiting beliefs only have the power that you give them. That you give them. Now, media External variables will tell you all these different things, but at the end of the day, it's about you. What type of power are you giving your limiting beliefs? And then how do we get rid of that? How do we combat it? We overcome, we empower ourselves to be in productive and powerful situations. Recognize your self-worth so you can move forward. So when you walk to that door, when you run towards that door of opportunity and your goals, they're out there for you. So with that, limiting beliefs, it's all about what serves you. And what serves you are your goals, are your dreams. We are visionofhope.com for coaching. Let's get after it. Your dreams are waiting for you.
When adversity came, I could have fell apart, but I chose instead to follow my heart. When adversity comes, I will never run. I will adjust, adapt, and overcome. Vision.